Chapter 14. Fall. Orbital. The battle barge Abhorrence was bigger than the Achilles. In orbit, many vessels of different chapters came. Not all of the chapters had responded to Kurland's call, but he decided it was time for the meeting. Marshal Bohemond, agreed for his vessel to be the site of the meeting. That, and he was the longest-serving commander there. Greydove accompanied Slaughter for appearance's sake. The lieutenant asked what he hoped to accomplish. He would make an enemy out of the High Lords, the Inquisition, and others. And true, Kurland was reluctant, but he wasn't sure of his plan. Since Greydove was there, Slaughter used him as a confidant. He wasn't sure he could reach to the Marshal, but Greydove told him he is the last of the Imperial Fists, and that makes him Chapter Master, and the Marshal's equal, which apparently means that they are treating the Marshal as High Marshal now. Whatever. But being Chapter Master by default isn't that great of a thing. Greydove called his survival miraculous, a blessing from the Emperor. Kurland apologizes for taking the vessel and says he respects Greydove. They arrive on the battle barge and Kurland talks to Greydove. The worst that could happen is that he will be ridiculed and his chapter will fall into both extinction and infamy. At best, the successors will unite to stop the beast. The reward outweighed the risk. The two exchanged a few words and shook hands before the door opened and a squad of Black Templars entered the room. The Black Templars saluted Kurland and Castellan Claremont to Kurland to the Marshal and Chapter Masters. Slaughter told the Castellan it has been a while since he has been in the presence of Space Marines, to which the Castellan responded that he is among brothers now. They reached the hall where the meeting would be held, and Kurland entered. He could recognize the Marshal instantly. There was also Issachar of the Iscariot, with his mental hand. Opposite Issachar stood a man Kurland didn't know, but his grey unpainted armor could tell him he was of the Fist Exemplar. Last at the table was Chapter Master Quesedra of the Crimson Feast. Fist. Yeah, Fist would be good. Slaughter started to doubt himself. Who was he to call upon these men? Nevertheless, he went to the chair opposite to the Marshal and presented himself to the Fist Exemplar. Maximus Stain, Chapter Master, responded back. The Marshal took the initiative of the discussion. They had already went over what they know of the Orks and Beasts, and while he didn't like wasting time repeating it, he would do it for Kurland. Nobody objected and the Marshal began, and he told Kurland about how they rescued the Fist Exemplars, and how he tried to contact his Marshal brothers. But it would take them some time to gather. The Navy was sitting idly, the Guard was doing basically nothing. The Marshal would fight them, but it wasn't the time. The Orks are getting close to Terra. Quesadra spoke next about how the Imperium can help itself, how they slay hundreds when they should thousands, thousands when they should millions. The number of the Orks have not been seen since Ulanor. Or the numbers of the Orks have not been seen since Ulanor. I don't know why I repeated that. Thought it was funny. Then mentioned those that died defending their home, and all members lowered their head in gratitude. Issachar supported the formation of the last wall. The Marshal agreed and said he was surprised it wasn't the Chapter Master that proposed it. Slaughter told them that Mirhen was dead. Dane interjected and hosted sympathy, and had sympathy for Kurland. The Marshal didn't like that, but he wanted to know why was he alone? Where were his brothers? Kurland did mention he was the only survivor, but what the Chapter Masters didn't know was that he wasn't the only survivor at Ardamantua. He was the last of the Imperial Fist. And once they knew, silence fell on them all. A mixture of anger and confusion and pity was gathering in all the Space Marines present. Kurland surged and told them that the Imperial Fists are no more. Save for him, they are all dead. He looked at all the members at the table and spoke the words that would mean nothing for anyone not of Dorn's line. But to them it held powerful and deep meaning. The final wall has fallen.